Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to show you a step-by-step guide onto how to solve linear equations. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so once again, what's a linear equation? You should already know this from previous videos, but in case you don't, a linear equation is any equation that forms a straight line where when you graph it and the variable is usually x, the variable that's usually x is always to the first power, so we have no squares, it's not quadratic, it's not cubic, it's just plain x. And so this variable is the one we're going to be solving for when solving linear equations. So examples of linear equations, you've seen these before. The equation, you normally see it as y equals mx plus b, but when solving linear equations you're probably gonna have the actual equation equal to a number, and then you're gonna have to isolate the variable, which we're gonna be seeing later. So notice how in this examples x is never squared, cube, or under root, and that's what makes it linear. Okay, so as I've said before, the goal is to isolate x. So what do I mean by isolating? It's by getting it all by itself onto one side of the equation. So we're gonna think about it as a balanced scale. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you're gonna have to do it to the other. And this is actually the golden rule of algebra when solving linear equations. So basic steps. First of all, if our equation is not simplified, and for example, let's say you have 9x. Let's say you have 9x plus 27 equals 3. You could simplify this equation by dividing all of these by 3, so you would get 3x plus 9 equals 1. That's what I mean by simplifying. Also, simplifying can mean removing parentheses or combining any like terms. So for example, if we have 9x plus 27 minus 1 or plus 2, then we would do 9x plus 26, etc. Also, sometimes equations are not are given in parentheses, so you may have 2 times x plus 2 equal 4, for example. We would just multiply, and then it would be 2x plus 4 equals 4. Okay, so that's the first thing, simplifying each side. Then we generally move variables, so we gather all x terms to one side and all x terms to the other. This is when it gets for example, when if we have 9x plus 27 equal 3x plus 1, then we would move all x's to one side and the other numbers to the other side. So for example, we can move 3x to the 9x side, and then we get 9x minus 3, and then we move the 27 to the other side, and 27 negative 27, or 1 minus 27. And so here we're constantly moving numbers, which is our third step. Okay, so let's move on to an example. So let's solve together 2x plus 3 equals 7. So then you would subtract 3 from both sides, because remember, balance, you wanna, the things you do to one side, you are gonna make them, you're gonna also make them in the other side. So then we get 2x plus 3 minus 3, because we're subtracting negative 3 from this side and from this side, and then we would get 2x equals 8. Then to isolate x, we would divide both sides by 2, and so this one is pretty easy. You would get x equals 4. That's the solution. So more practice obviously makes perfect. These are other examples of some equations you can solve. For example, this one, again, it's pretty much like the one we did before. So you, in this case, add 7 to both sides, and then you divide by 5. Then in this example, we have x on both sides of the equation. So we would just move the 4 to one side and the 2x to the other side, or we would just simply put variables together. So we would subtract, for example, 2x from both sides, and then we would subtract 4 from the other side, and we would get x equals 6. And there's another example with negatives. When you have a negative x variable, you want to make sure you're dividing or multiplying or whatever by a negative, because x should always, and it must always, be positive. There are also special cases. So some linear equations may throw a curveball, and so here's what you should look out for. If when solving the equation, if everything cancels out and you get something like 0, 0, it means that any value of x is going to work into the equation. So this equation is always going to be true. And when we have this value, we say it has infinite solutions. Then there are other cases where you might end up with an impossible statement like 0 equals 5. 0 obviously does not equal 5. So then this means that there's no value of x that can make this true. So this equation has no solution. And yes, that's possible. So then we also see linear equations in the real world. So algebra isn't just textbooks. They actually help us solve everyday problems, and so this is also a work example. Exams or whatever might ask you. So let's solve it together. Well, you can also see it on the screen, but let's go step by step. So a movie ticket costs 12. You and your friends spend a total of 60. How many tickets did you buy? Okay, so we know that since it's asking about tickets, that's gonna be our variable. So if a movie ticket costs 12, how many tickets does your friend buy? So x is the number of tickets, and then 12 is the amount of money. And so you know that you and your friends spent a total of 60. And so to solve for x, well, first you're gonna set up this equation, right? $12 times the number of tickets you bought, which is what it's asking you, is gonna equal the total amount of money you spent. So you have this equation, and then this one's really simple. You would just divide by 12 on each side, and you get that x equals 5. So you bought 5 tickets, and each of them cost you 12, which made you spend a total of 60. Okay, so you've got this. That's all you need to know on how to solve linear equations. Here's some key takeaways that you can take. So first, linear equations, they involve variables only to the first power. So when solving linear equations, you don't have to worry about quadratic formula or anything like that. Then you just always solve by balancing. What we mean by this is by isolating the variable by performing the same operation on both sides. This is really important. The things you do on one side of the equation should be done to the other one. Please remember that. And then you should also watch out for some solutions that may surprise you, but can actually happen, which are infinite solutions when 0 equals 0, or no solutions when 0 equals one number. And then remember that math is everywhere, so this is actually really useful, not just for school but for life in general. And you see how if you keep practicing solving the equations, you'll become really good at it, because it's not really that complicated. It takes practice. So that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.